Okay, welcome to another edition of When MASN Worlds Collide. You got Roch Kubatko here on the Orioles side with Ben Goessling on the National side. Ben, last night's game, interesting. David Hernandez had a no-hitter going, but his pitch count looked like it might reach 200 by the time he finished it off. Well, what'd you think of the way he was throwing and maybe the Nats' approach in that game?
Well, it was interesting because, I mean, he only gave up the one hit, and that was to Miguel Batista, who hadn't had a hit in like 4 years. But, I mean, the thing with the Nats, and they've been struggling quite a bit lately, and he walked 5 guys. So they had their chances, but really didn't get much going against him. I thought he threw the ball well. They said he didn't really ever center his fastball, and he was kind of nibbling effectively enough that they didn't really get anything on him and didn't make any solid contact. So, I mean, he made the mistakes with the walks, but was able to do enough to get out of some jams and took advantage of a team that's been struggling.
Now, I thought the strategy was interesting, and a lot of fans question it. Bringing on Livan Hernandez to pinch hit, but then not keeping him in the game. People are like, why would you do that? But obviously, you want to save the bench. But
Right.
is that a move this team's been doing a lot of this year?
They've done it from time to time. They've pinch hit Livan a couple times. They pinch hit Jason Marquis once. I mean, just, not wanting to burn a bench player early. This advanced strategy we have to use in the National League. Right. We don't have the DH to rely on. So, yeah, they've done that a few times just to, save the bench. You got 5 guys on the bench, obviously, so you've got to conserve those guys. And that was for that reason. Levo's a good hitter, and so they tried to stick that out there and see if it would work.
I want to know what it's like to cover a team that's around 500, because I really don't get a chance to do that very often. Obviously, they've been one of the bigger surprises this year. What's that been like for you, and what do you think's been the key to the turnaround?
Well, the bullpen, I think, has been the key. I mean, this was a bullpen last year that blew leads pretty regularly. I mean, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, there was not one guy in that bullpen from opening day to the final day of the season. And Matt Capps has been very good. Tyler Clipper's been very good. They've got some long relievers who have had some issues. But that, to me, has been the big key. And as far as what it's been like, it's been very different. I mean, the last couple of years, obviously, they've lost 100 games both seasons. For me, it's different to cover a team that's playing well. The mood around the team is different. The expectations are different. And when Steven Strasburg gets here, there's going to be a lot more intrigue than there's been in the last couple of years.
Oh, is he on his way? I haven't heard anything about him. What's the due date here?
Well, June 4th, I think, is what we're talking about. So, if you're in a Strasburg pool, that would be my little insider tip, I guess. But it could be June 4th, could be June 8th. The other thing to watch now is Scott Olson might miss his next start. So they might need a guy on the 29th, which, oh, by the way, Steven Strasburg is scheduled to throw that day. And, oh, by the way, they're in San Diego, which is his hometown. I think it'll be here. I mean, I think they'll debut him here. But if they get back into a corner, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But my guess would be June 4th.
I should point out when I say I don't get to cover a 500 team, I'm pretty much doing that now if you remove that 2-16 start. Yeah. I think they have been around 500. And now this is a big game again tonight for this team because you're playing your Beltway rival. And there's a lot of speculation about Dave Tremblay's job status. And I'm sure winning a series here with that off day coming up Monday would do them a lot of good right now. What are you thinking about tonight's matchup?
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Craig Stammen has been very good here. He's been very bad on the road. Really, he's kind of been almost 2 different pitchers. His strikeout to walk ratio is something like 8-to-1 at home. So, I mean, that trends a little bit in the Nationals' favor. But Bergeson, in the times the Nats have seen him, it's been tough. So, I mean, I think for the Nats, it's kind of an interesting series now. The tables are a little bit turned, and that you're in what should be a soft part of their schedule here after a tough opening. And I think they came into the weekend hoping to take 2 out of 3 or expecting to take 2 out of 3, and obviously they got to win tonight and they got to win tomorrow to do that. And I guess for your guys, obviously Tremblay's job status is up in the air, but winning this series, what would that do for his security and just for the team's outlook?
That's what we're not too sure about that. We're just making the assumption that it would bode really well for him if they could go ahead and win this series, take 2 or 3 or sweep. We weren't sure if he could afford to get swept after losing 2 in Texas. That's why last night's win seemed so big. And Bergeson coming up 3 straight quality starts, even though he gave up 4 runs and ended up losing his last one. It was only 3 earned. But he's been much better since he came back. So I really think it's going to be a good matchup. Then they wrap it up tomorrow. And I don't know, who's even on the mound tomorrow for you guys?
John Lannon.
You got John Lannon. What can you tell us about him?
Well, his last start was good. He's obviously kind of their de facto ace, I guess, but he has been struggling most of the year. His last start, pitched 7 innings, looked better. He missed a start with some inflammation in his elbow. So he seems to be turning it around a little bit. And he's had a couple of good outings against the Orioles in the past. It's held them to, I think, 1 run in 7 innings a couple of years ago after sitting through like a 2.5-hour rain delay up at Camden Yards. But so he's a guy that's going to, you know, get a lot of ground balls, work quickly, you know, a lot like a lot of their other pitchers. But we'll have to see which John Lannon shows up. It's been hit or miss for him this year.
And finally, I'm on record as saying I don't sense there's a really big rivalry between these teams yet. I don't think we've gotten to that stage. It's kind of something the media tries to generate. Do you sense that there is any sort of more added excitement from these guys from the Nationals because, oh, the Orioles are in town, or is it just like another series for them?
I think it's another series, personally. I don't see the rivalry being real big yet. And I guess, you know, a few people have said when it's big, you don't have to talk about it being big. Everybody just kind of knows. But I do think there is an added wrinkle to this now that the Nationals are around 500. And the tables have turned a little bit, and the Nationals, you know, the last couple of years have been the worst team in the major leagues. And now they've got a little bit of a leg up on the Orioles. So I think that adds a layer of intrigue to it. Whether that creates a rivalry or not, I'm not quite sure it does yet.
Who's your favorite blogger on MASNsports.com besides yourself?
Talking to him right now. I mean, it's, you know, it's the blueprint I follow, and, you know, this is the guy that they, you know, come in and basically said, be like Roch. So, I mean, you know, you got to take
normally not good advice, by the way.
Parts of that, and you know, kind of take certain parts of it and go with it, and take certain parts and not go with it. But yeah, no, I'm talking to the Godfather, so that would have to be my answer.
I owe him $20 for that, but thank you. I think you're doing a great job. Right. It's good working with you. Roch Kubatko, Ben Goessling, MASNsports.com.